for questions. And I guess I have to
Hi,
fix my
Sandy.
spelling. Yes.
I had a question about the was it BASE, the name of the certification? I may have not picked this up correctly, but is it right that you have an open curriculum and you're welcoming people to kind of pick it up and run with it and then do their own certification for these credentials?
Tammy, Tammy, I think this is your question.
Yeah, so the base is really, right, it's based on industry defined standards. So we don't tell people what curricula to use or how to go about teaching it. I do think that most of the traditional biotechnology programs and other programs that are out there are addressing a lot of those standards. I think the big difference is that most of us have learned science in the context of academic research, whereas the base is more how it's applied to the industry. So you have the knowledge, you have the skills. How does that now become an industry function, right? My analogy is always the ELISA, right? We learn it as a research tool, whereas in industry, it would be used as a quality control function. So learning the lingo, learning the industry, just kind of the basics of working in a controlled environment, some of the documentation, just basic documentation that's used in the industry. And
I guess, yeah, more specifically, I have developed a new tool for knowledge assessment, and I'm wondering whether I could take the base questions, put them into my tool, and then provide base credentialing for to match up people who want to work in the biotech industry with companies who are looking to hire.
Yeah, so I love that idea. So here's the challenge is that it's a controlled exam, even beginning with writing the questions. It's done in a controlled system because, it's a credential. And so we have to control not only the design and the making of the exam, but also the delivery of the exam to make sure everybody's got the same starting point, same materials, right? So I think that would be difficult. If there's a way that we can maybe work together in some way, I'd love to have that conversation. But I can't actually take base exam questions to put into a different platform.
Got it. I was at an EdTech conference a few months back, just before the latest COVID lockdowns, and the CEO of Duolingo was speaking, and he was talking all about the success of Duolingo and their IPO. But he was also talking about during the pandemic, they started doing assessment of English proficiency as a new source of revenue for the company, and it was wildly successful because of all these English testing centers. It was mostly for foreign students coming to the US, and there were English testing centers that were all closed down because of the pandemic. So they suddenly moved that part of the assessment and credentialing online. So just an interesting side point that I thought I'd mention.
Oh, yeah. And, so saying, with us, because historically the base has been delivered as a two-part controlled exam, so an online knowledge component as well as a hands-on practical. And with the onset of the pandemic, which was actually right at the beginning of when most students are preparing to sit for this exam, right, everybody was sent home. And so our national board did grant us permission to convert the practical portion into an online kind of virtual format. And so that is an option right now. I don't know that they're going to continue that right now. They've allowed it through January 15th of this year. And we'll see, how we move beyond that.
Great. Thank you.
No, thank you.
There's some other questions. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I have another question about base. I'm in Kentucky, and according to that map, I guess I'm a brown mustard state. So
Yeah.
it's there, but we don't necessarily have a full, if I wanted to, would there be a state contact person, or would I go directly to, if I wanted to talk to people in the industry, or is there a coordinator per state, something like that?
Yes, that's a great question. So you can still administer the exam. There actually is, I think, 2 sites in Kentucky that have administered it. But of course, the key is that state level adoption. And interestingly, I actually just met with the Kentucky director of, so it's housed under your health science, right, career cluster. And, so we were just talking about that. And if it might be very helpful if we just loop you into that conversation, because typically what they want to hear is, from the educators, but also from industry representatives. And so why don't we connect? And I would love to, help you with that.
Absolutely, thank you.
Sure.
Tammy, there's a couple of questions. What tends to be the the skills that base candidates struggle with most on the practical exam, besides the math?
So overall, and I didn't show all the statistics in this presentation because we're short for time and we can see that in other ones, but overall, they do pretty well on the different categories of the practical. And I don't know if we can go back to that slide that outlines them. We don't have to bridge it. Really, it's the math. They tend to score 70, 80%, across the different topics. And then you get to the math and that drops to 60%. And so I really think that if we can just practice that math, which nobody likes to do, but it's a critical skill in the industry, that's going to make a significant difference in terms of passing the practical portion.
And there's another question about what about using the practice exam questions? Valerie, you'll have to clarify that question though. Practice exam questions for. Did Valerie go away?
So if she's not here to clarify, I will say that we see a significant, like schools, students that make use of that practice exam definitely perform better on the base. And the more that we can see, the more they even engage with it and use it, the better they do. And we do offer forums that are reoccurring about how to integrate the practice exam into your curricula. So it's not just a 2-day before crash, practice, where they're actually using this, throughout the semester or the school year. And like I said, the teacher can also get feedback on how the students are performing on those practice exam topics. And that gives you a bit of insight too.
I want to interrupt for just 1 minute. I put the link to the evaluation form in chat, and it'd be great if you need to leave, please check that out and please complete the evaluation. And yeah, there's some more questions for you, Tammy.
Could I mention one thing to the group? I just wanted to mention that Innovate Bio really supports this, because when we originally started with BioLink, we thought about having BioLink designated 2-year programs and high school programs. But then we realized it's really hard to, what does that mean? And then in the end, we realized when they came up with the base, it was much easier to have a third-party certification that we were not part of, because that would be a conflict of interest. And instead, it's better to test the students than to test the program, because that is too hard, where it's much easier to test the program. And this was the only exam that had both face-to-face lab exam besides written, because we all realize that you can't work at a bench just based on what you can do in a written exam. If you want to know a little bit of the history behind this.
Well, thank you, Linnea.
So Tammy,
So
oh, sorry, go ahead. Britt, I'll let you.
I was going to give her, I was just
Thank
going to give
you.
her the questions that are in the chat. What's the
Perfect,
duration
thanks.
of the typical program using the base? Are they mostly in community college or high school programs?
So both, so when it was initially launched, it was based off of, it's really an outcome of legislation here in Florida that students in our CTE programs have the opportunity to earn an industry recognized credential, and that credential also would count as post-secondary credit in our 2-year degree programs. And so the rigor of this exam is really an overlap between the high school and these 2-year degree programs. And so it's very applicable both. I will say that the post-secondary candidates have a higher pass rate. It's about 50% for the secondary programs. I, again, practice that math, and I think we can make that better. And again, this is controlled by our board. And in the post-secondary programs, it's really more 75% pass rate. And so the length of the program, so it depends. So most, and Val or Susan, Sophie, if you're here, you might speak to this too. Typically, if you're in a post-secondary program, it would be through at least your proteins methods course. Flathead Valley Community College in Montana offers I think a 1-year program that prepares students specifically for the base. But a lot of it just depends too on a person's prior experience and what they might have gotten either from a job or prior education. Because we don't dictate who anybody can sit for the exam.
So Tammy, I'm here. This is Susan. Hi. So I can tell you that we offer the base during our protein and cell culture class, which is the last course in the biotech program at our college. And so we either offer it during that course or just before that course. However, if I offer it before we start that course, because it's a summer course and it's pretty intense, so trying to find time to fit it in there is sometimes a little bit challenging. But if we offer it beforehand, I have to do some supplemental teaching because we don't cover proteins up until that last course. So I have to at least go over, the basics of protein for the base if we decide to offer it before that last course.
So Tammy, we have our entry-level certificate both in the high schools and our program. It's like 3 years, 2 years in high school, and then 1 year at the community college. And then that would be equivalent to base. The second year of our program is more advanced technology, since we have a 2-year degree and a post-baccalaureate certificate. So the base goes for high school and 1 year of our program.
Right. And so the candidates in the secondary programs, it's either a rigorous, typically a 3-year biotech program. Project Lead the Way also uses it in their biomedical science courses. I do think there's a little supplementation, in terms of applications that go with that. But those are the primary users.
And Melissa has a question. I'll answer this one about the curricular framework. The BioRed textbook is one of the, they have aligned with the base. We are using the Austin Community College curriculum that they developed for the first 2 courses, and it is also aligned with the base. Let's see if I have other questions down here. Where do you find the practice exam?
Yeah, great question. So the practice exam, you need to register as a test site, and then you'll get access to that. There's no cost to register as a test site. But once you do, then you'll be provided a link to access the practice exam.
That Sharon will answer your question as well.
Yeah, and that's on the Biotility website. Google Biotility and you'll see base and it'll pop up for Google base.
Okay, I think that I ask all the questions.
Thank you very much.
If there's any other, I'm sorry that I missed them.
And feel free to unmute and jump in.
So I have a question. I'm Beatriz Villar, I'm professor at Northampton Community College in Pennsylvania. And, glad being here, learning from all of you. And so we have a biotech program, like a 2-year program that actually we canceled it. I mean, we put it on hold because we don't have enough students in the program, right? So we are at that moment where we have to stop for a little bit and think, get ideas, and see how we can get the students interested again and how we can rebound the program, because the way it was done, it's not working anymore. We used to have a close collaboration with an industry, a pharmaceutical company in the area, where we're kind of getting the students there, but they're not doing that anymore. So they, they've moved that area of working to other states. So that doesn't exist anymore, that connection or that work. So we're kind of brainstorming and think, okay, what we can do to bring that program back. So I see some of you in community colleges, working with this exam and this certificate. And so maybe that's a direction we should go. Do you have any suggestions?
Boy, student recruitment is actually kind of a big, a topic with everybody. And we do have a student recruitment channel in Slack, but I think we're probably going to have, I think, some kind of dedicated meeting to talk about it. Because it's something everybody is struggling with.
Yeah.
I also think that incorporating some of the career exploration in your biotech, in your basic biology classes is really important. The career fairs, I know there's going to be a virtual career fair with Nimble in February. I don't know the link to that, but I'm sure you can Google it. But I was just on a Mentorlink site visit at Wake Tech and visited a genetics class, and it was astounding how the students are so interested. We showed them the biotechcareers.org website, and then it was they're got really excited. There's actually a job posting locally for them that's right there on the website, and so they're like, oh, I didn't know all this was available. I think just students not realizing how diverse biotech is the main thing. They know they want to be in some sort of career, but the biology is, we all know, is lacking. But I think whenever they learn about what biotech is and how it can be adapted to whatever your interest is, almost. I'm an animal scientist by training, so I think that that's really important to share with students, and that website gives them, let's see it all, and that you can make money at it.
Right.
Yeah, I know in Portland for a while, the industry wasn't doing so well, but a lot of the students who were trained at the biotech program at Portland Community College got jobs at Intel, the chip maker, because they understood how to work in a clean room and how to do gowning and, follow directions and.
It's verbal skills.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, we're kind of almost at the top of the hour. Do we have any last questions? Oh, good. Somebody put the link to the BioRed textbook in here. And I think we will try to figure out how we can get the chat so it can be copied, but we'll get a transcript and put the links on the website. I will also put them into Slack, and on the event page, I will be posting recordings. And I sure hope to see all of you next week when we talk about biotech at Wistar Institute and the antibody engineering hackathon, which we had a lot of good results from. So we're really pretty happy about that.